Hello everyone, let me introduce myself. My name is Edita Permana. So today I'd like to give a review about a video which viral for years ago, which is high school student debates about universal basic income. If you don't watch this video, then I'll put the link in the description below. So this video consists of 4 teams with 2 teams on either side of the case. The first team got the case closing opposition, the second team got the case about the early government, the third team got the case about closing government, the fourth team got the case about opening opposition. In each speaker of the team, it should deliver a 5-minute speech. So the central theme about this topic is what would it be like if government provides an unconditional sum of money to all citizens, regardless of income or property owned. That way, we can spread the wealth in our society. The biodiversity growing inequality across the nation or even the world. However, or claim that reserve might lose sight of the value of hard work, which is one of the most noble and treasured aspects of life. Okay, now I'd like to evaluate about the point that each speaker of 4 team mentioned during their speech. From the Incheon International High School, aka first team, I am 40% agree with their opinion, because universal basic income also referred as a guaranteed income has a simple concept in order to ensure that every citizen can offer to meet their basic needs. Government provide every citizen with a set amount of money on a regular basis enough to leave them above the poverty line. For no one to argue the reliability and credibility of the speaker, I'd like to provide some evidence. First, UVI, the United Universal Basic Income, provide a foundation to overcome economic inequality to citizens and moreover promote the overall economic level of the society. Influential 20th century economist Milton Friedman and Friedrich Hayek claim that UBI is the best way to elevate poverty in government level. Next is Songnam Foreign Language High School, aka second team. I am 70% agree with their opinion because we are not living in our utopia. We live in reality that has many obstacles. Therefore, making a kind of an ideal policies and like the given motion has its hard. It's very hard to be released. I will present specific reason why I didn't agree 100% with the second team. That also will prove that the universal basic income will do more harm than good to our society. First, I'd like to point out what was wrong with your argument that they said that this policy can overcome the economic gap between the poor and the rich, and they said this is the only best way that we can solve this problem. But we say that this is wrong because tackling and kind of solve the fundamental problem in our society that led to this kind of crisis of the gossipy and the poor and rich. We say the employment rate of the whole structure and this society can forcing the rich to become more rich and poor people become poor is something that should be solved, and actually just saying that we should give out universal basic income to 2 people can solve all this complicated problem, and therefore it's not realistic. Also, this will be a long-term benefit if we agree to the motion, but we say that it's actually a temporary solution to the gap between the poor and the rich. Next is Yangjae High School. I am 50% agree with their opinion because they say this universal basic income can wholly overcome the economic gap. However, I'd like to mention that this policy can provide foundation for people suffering from poverty to go into the society and go into that and have economic life. Yes, and secondly, we would like to mention that, and yes, if you want really want on this to solve the problem of the suffering from poverty, then why don't we concentrate the money only for the people suffering from poverty? On that is a matter of equality. If we only provide money to the ones who are suffering from poverty, we decide that's the standard of poverty. This is no question, this is a problem. And secondly, I'd like to mention that the opposition side has mentioned this universal basic income will become a temporary solution to the gap of the rich and the poor, and increasing cost of social infrastructure will result in more tax. However, I'd like to mention that basic income could have the advantage of eliminating or directly scaling back nearly all other kind of government provide. And last, Hana Academy Seoul, aka for team, I'm 30% agree with their opinion because they talk about civil rights, but I'm not really sure about this point because inflation would happen and additional side of its work differently happen, and how can we actually save the civil right of the suffering from poverty. And also on the basic they talk about small business and stimulating additional activities, but that's just an assumption and it's a part of small example. If you look at the other example, they are actually effect, and I believe that this cannot solve the fundamental problem. The purpose of this policy is to narrow the gap between the poor and solve income inequality. However, I believe that this is a too absurd plan. So that's my explanation. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Bye bye.